Welcome back, dudes, to episode 4 of Call to Arms, the development series. I'm really pleased with where we're at right now. I was thinking during the break that weapon descriptions and armor descriptions are in fact extremely self-explanatory. The artifact descriptions exist already without fluff, but the mechanics are there. What I really need to focus on most likely is artifact consumables or artifact items in general, and also tools and exploration gear. It also occurred to me that there is a weapon which I want to include in the game. There are several others which may be added given some time, but there is one at this point which I want to add to the advanced melee weapons table, because you'll notice that, of course, clerics use their holy symbols, wizards use their arcane implements, but the warrior class uses standard, advanced, simple, standard, and advanced weapons. The ranger class uses simple, standard, and advanced weapons, as do, well, the bards use a musical instrument, and do we even have any other? We don't even have any other classes. But the rogue is limited to simple and standard at this point in time, and therefore I feel it necessary to give them an advanced option, just so that they don't feel excluded from something simply based on their class choice. So let's do that now, because it's a very simple change. So the weapon in question is a tonfa. I imagine them to be bladed tonfas. It just seems more appealing. But it's tonfas nonetheless. 1d8, same damage as the Katar, you might be saying, +1 is the difference. It's very minor, but at least it gives them an option. Encumbrance 1. Beautiful. I may lower the price. Down to 6. Let me check the character creation section again. The final element, wealth and equipment. So the starting gold that a player receives is 1d12 plus 8. I just wanted to refresh my memory of that, because a tonfa for 6 gold could potentially be quite overpowered. But no, just doing some basic maths and thinking like, well, you could purchase one fairly easily, but a rogue with one weapon in this system is not a happy rogue, so they're going to be more incentivized, if they can afford to do so, to go for the dual Katar option, probably. I could make it to 7 gold. Let's leave it at 6 for now, and we'll see how it plays out during testing. I'm pretty sure the best way to do this is introduce a new heading here. equipment and this is a very long heading. Maybe I should condense this down to something like items. Okay, where to begin? Some copy-paste to begin, I think. Let's throw the tables. Oh, Jesus. Are these even going to fit in this document? This is going to be a nightmare. I'm completely lost again. Okay, I was in the right place. Let's just see how this goes. It's probably going to be bad. That's okay, actually. That is all readable and acceptable, but what I do need to do is copy them individually. Okay, this one's giving me some issues. I have no idea how to make this fit. It looks like this could be... It looks like this column could be condensed down further, but I do not know how. It refuses to let me to do it. So, yes, this is what I was afraid of. Amazing. I think it's counting a lot of these as multiple columns because it's merged in the document. So that is like 5 columns technically. I mean, this looks like it would just about fit on the page if you were to print it, maybe. Okay, I'm not going to mess with that. I really have no idea how to format things in Word, so it's going to look however it looks. I mean, it's a temporary thing anyway. Are you guys seeing this? My cursor is in the strangest position right now. It's above the text. I think we've broken it. Okay, I'm going to refresh this page and see if that fixes anything. It was fine for like, well, I thought it was. It's fine down here. It's this page. It's just this page. What the hell is that supposed to mean? God damn it. Right. This is interesting. Okay, so I think Google Documents is just determined to halt development at this stage. So I'm just gonna throw them in and see if it works. Yeah, normally I have the cursor hidden on all of my OBS scenes, so seeing a cursor on this stream is kind of a rare thing. I can I can completely understand why that might throw you off. Okay, so Google Docs is still destroying itself slowly. Uh, Okay, I'm just going to remove these two tables for a second and rework these so that a few of them are added to the consumables section instead of their present locations. I am getting excited about balancing these artifact items. Oh, the joys of game development. Oh, and that reminds me that the campaign is actually coming up in a few days, so hell yeah, this is going to be great. Okay, stop it. Stop thinking about items. Just copy and paste the tables. Calm down. It's going to be okay. So I kind of like having a separate table for consumables. It just categorizes things nicely, makes restocking simple enough to do for even the most novice players. Well, that's not how you spell steel. So the place that my mind has gone now is encumbrance, because I'm looking at the backpack, and if we just recap, the encumbrance ruling is As such, a character can carry up to half of their strength score in readied items and up to their full strength score in stowed items. Additional items can be carried at the expense of movement speed. These penalties are removed when traveling on horseback. Now, I'm going to change this. I can't remember if it was exactly this way in Stars Without Number. Maybe someone in chat will know. If not, I still think this change is a good move. So, a character can carry up to half of their strength score in readied items and up to their full strength score in stowed items with the use of a backpack. So you can carry half your strength score readied, half your strength score stowed, but if you acquire a backpack, you increase your sort of inventory space, so to speak, and therefore can carry twice as many stowed items. I enjoy that ruling personally, and it also incentivizes the purchase of the backpack. Without that mechanic, the backpack is trivial. Why would you need a backpack? So let's do that. Let's put it in somehow and phrase it appropriately. A character can carry up to half of their strength score in readied items and up to up to half of their strength score in stowed items. With the use of a backpack, a character can carry up to their full strength score in stowed items. Simple enough. Dalton4680, welcome to the stream, bro. Sorry to hear about your technical issues. I would check your temperatures. It could be overheating. It sounds like an overheat, sir.
Toasty!
Holy shit, that scared me a lot. Dalton4680, thank you so much for the support, dude. Welcome to the revolution. I hope you get those issues resolved, friend. Okay, we're starting with backpack. Backpacks serve as additional inventory space. I'm getting a lot of lag in Word right now, or in this shit, whatever this is, so I'm going to refresh the page again. I think these tables are breaking Word or whatever this Google Docs document software is called. God damn, it's so slow. This is terrible. The cursor is still completely broken. If I highlight it, it highlights the text. If I place the cursor onto the text, it's above the text. Terrible. Okay. Backpacks serve as additional inventory space, allowing characters to carry up to their full strength score in stowed items. Wow, that is a really nice looking desktop there, Kaisriel. Oh, this is horrible. This It turns out if you want to frustrate me, all you have to do is move the cursor up a few pixels in Word and it will be painful for my brain. Okay, 3. Bedroll. The bedroll at this stage at least serves absolutely no genuine purpose. Maybe it should. What purpose could it serve, I'm asking myself. Well, players make camps, usually at night, generally when traveling, sometimes at a dungeon or in a dungeon. They sleep. They sleep on a bedroll. I could provide some kind of rested experience buff, which provides a bonus to something the next day because they have rested for the full period of time and used a bedroll. The bedroll could serve as like when you log out in a city on an MMO to gain rested experience, the bedroll gives a rested bonus of some kind. Dalton, okay, I hope you determine the root of the issue, friend. I quite like this idea because it incentivizes use of the bedroll. It gives it some kind of mechanical bonus, but how do we not make it overpowered? So, the first encounter of the day is when this effect will take place. After that, it expires. What exactly is the effect? A bonus such as a +1 to skill checks it's actually very strong. Now, it is the lower end of bonuses, of course. You can't give a bonus lower than 1. However, a bedroll costs 1 silver. So 1 silver for a +1 to all rolls in an encounter, the first encounter of the day, that is massively overpowered. So I think we should do 1 silver for a +1 to the first roll of the day, whether it be an attack roll or a skill check. But the thing I'm thinking now is this is a whole rule. We're now adding an entire rule about rested bonuses and how the bedroll implements those. Is that too much? Is that a level of complexity that we actually want to avoid to improve or enhance the player experience? Is this simply going to serve as some useless, trivial thing that gets forgotten half the time, and then players wind up retconning and saying, "Oh, but we used a bedroll. He should have had a +1 on that roll. He could have succeeded or whatever." Like potentially, even though the chance is quite slim, still that +1 could have made the difference. Now, I'm drawing comparisons with the tools. We have the tools such as the fishing pole, the healing kit, the herbalist's stash, the survival kit, the thieves' tools, the blacksmithing tools, the fishing net. These kinds of tools gain a +1 bonus to all skill checks which require use of said tools. And thus, the bedroll being a tool, technically, which does a similar thing, is not that alien to the players, because a mechanic of this sort already exists, but the thing that you have to take into consideration is that this has the added depth that it's the first check of the day and nothing else. So you have to give it a little bit more thought than just, oh, I'm making this skill check, I'm using these tools, they give me this bonus 100% of the time. In this instance, it's far more situational. So is it a good move? It's hard for me to make this call. Of course, it needs playtesting, and I'll need feedback, and it's truly going to be up to the players and their experience with the game as to whether it is ultimately included or not. But just at first glance, so to speak, I think it's a good idea. It incentivizes the purchase of a bedroll. It incentivizes the role-playing element of, I take out my bedroll and deploy it, and then sleep on the bedroll. That players are actually going to say that. They have to specify to the GM. Well, they don't necessarily have to. It may become a thing where, like, it's implied, but at least to begin with, players are going to want to specifically be making use and verbalizing it of the bedroll. So I quite like that. But again, 1 silver is the cost. You're paying 1 silver for a +1 to the first roll. Now, is that is that overpowered? No. No, I think that's acceptable. If we take into consideration the price of the tools, which cost 2 gold for either a +1 or +2, I'm still undecided, to all skill checks made with said tools, 1 silver, which is 1/10 of a gold, for a +1 on the first thing of the day, which may not be optimal at all. Like, you might want to reserve that +1. You might desperately want to save that for a boss encounter or a crucial skill check, crucial to the quest line. But you can't do that. You're forced. You absolutely must expend it on the first thing that you do in a day. So it's not necessarily overpowered, I don't think. But still, 1 silver. It sounds extremely cheap. It sounds very, very cheap. Something I was considering earlier is whether I abolish the silver and copper from this system entirely. I do quite like that it can be broken down that small, etc. But no. Now I'm playing devil's advocate in my own mind, and I'm saying, what about when they go to a tavern and order some ale, for example? That's not going to cost a gold. How are they going to negotiate this? Because if you put a gold piece down on the table, you could probably buy everything in the tavern almost, including the furniture. But there would have to be some kind of bartering. It would be like salt or something. They'd be giving salt from their rations or something weird. So it's useful to have those things. So I've defeated my own argument, and we are keeping silver and gold. Back to the point. 1 silver for a +1 to the first. I like it. I think it's good. I think we're gonna keep it. We're gonna do it. Okay. Bedroll. Weary adventurers. Weavery. Interesting. Need a place. Oaklace. Okay. Place to lay their head when at the end of a hard day's questing. Using a bedroll during a long rest will grant a +1 bonus. Business, I was writing there, I'm pretty sure. Bonus to the first roll made the made after the rest period. Weary adventurers need a place to lay their head at the end of a hard day's questing. Using a bedroll during a long rest will grant a +1 bonus to the first roll made after the rest period. I could say after this period. No, after the rest period. After the rest. Maybe just after the rest. Using a bedroll during a long rest will grant a +1 bonus to the first roll made after the rest. I'm glad you're enjoying it as easy. Fuck. Azihia. I'm pretty sure I'm getting all of those pronunciations wrong, but I am glad you are enjoying your meal, sir. Moving on. Chain. That's extremely self-explanatory. Chain. A length of chain a 10-foot length of chain can be of great use to an adventurer. I don't really know what else to say about that. Chest. A useful item for securing valuables behind lock and key. grappling hook allows for makes for an easier time when attempting to scale an obstacle using rope. Oh, I just realized I just realized what I wrote there is absolutely useless to everyone and anyone, so let's continue. Makes for an easier time when attempting to scale an obstacle using rope. Grappling hooks grant a +1 bonus when throwing ropes. I mean, that just sounds ridiculous. When deploying ropes. I'm tempted to give it +2, because if you try to throw a rope like onto a rooftop or something, that's going to be like a 12 difficulty at least. But then by using the you see, this is kind of the thing that doesn't really modify the difficulty class or grant a bonus. Or sorry, this is not the type of thing that grants a bonus. This is the type of thing that modifies the difficulty class. So if you tried to throw a rope onto a roof, you'd be looking at you'd have to roll a 12. If you were to tie a grappling hook to that rope and throw it onto the roof, you'd be looking at like a 7 or an 8 or whatever, depending on the height of the roof. It's much easier. So it's not a bonus. It's simply that the GM will modify the target based on the fact that you're using a grappling hook. Lantern. I just remembered an item that I was thinking about including, which is either a bottle or a container of oil. There is no mention of it here. There are candles for use inside of the lantern. There's no mention of being able to purchase oil. Well, I'll leave it for now. It's something to consider. It's not like oil can't exist in a campaign setting because it's not listed. Of course, that is not the case. Lantern. For use with candles. When provides illumination. You see, now I'm questioning, why does the lantern exist? Why do torches exist? Why do candles exist? What's the difference here? What's the bonus? What's the advantage that you're gaining? If you drop a torch into water, it will extinguish. If you drop a lantern with a candle inside, it will extinguish. There's no major difference there, but there is a difference in price. A lantern costs 5 gold, which is actually extremely expensive relative to the other items in these tables. So, what advantage is it providing the players? I personally believe it should burn for longer. That seems to be the logical choice. Provides illumination for 1 day when used in conjunction with a candle. And the torches will have to have some kind of shorter time period. For which they can be used to actually make this lantern valuable to a party. Valuable enough that someone at some point would drop 5 gold on one. Candles, 1 silver. Torches, 1 silver. You can't fit a torch inside a lantern. It's simply an aesthetical change so that you have a way to fit a torch inside a lantern in the form of a candle, but the lantern itself is a thing. So how long are these torches going to burn for? I think the simplest solution, because I don't want players to be worrying about tracking in-game time or real-world time, I don't want anyone to have to do that at any point with this system, is a torch burns for 1 encounter. Now, how do you deal with this? It's partially GM discretion, and it also partially functions. Let's say that the players light a torch outside of an encounter, and then that an entire day, passes by with no encounters taking place. That torch is going to burn for a day, just like a lantern. So in that case, the GM will have to enforce the use of a new torch. They are going to have to say at some point, well, you've been traveling for 2 hours now, your torch is expended, use another torch, equip another torch, ignite another torch, or whatever, and discard this one. And in the case that there is an encounter, it simply works thusly. The torch burns, you enter an encounter, that encounter ends, the torch is extinguished. You get 1 torch per encounter essentially that way, or outside of encounters, the DM is going to have to impose upon you a situation in which your torch expires. That's the best way and simplest way that I think I can address this. Okay, anyway. That is good to know. A map. In some locations, maps of the area may be available. Should this be the case, a map can be used to gain a +1, bonus to navigation checks whilst traveling within the area it depicts. In some locations, maps of the... I'm just going to say... In some locations, maps may be available. Should this be the case, a map can be used to gain a +1 bonus to navigation checks whilst traveling within the specified area. Rope. A 40-foot length of rope is an invaluable tool for any adventuring party. Definitely. I mean, if there's anything that you want in a tabletop role-playing experience, it's conuses. I mean, I don't even know what those are, but we need them. So, when climbing or climbing is a blanket terminology, I assume, or a blanket term. Like if you're ascending or descending on a face of some kind, you're climbing. Pretty sure I don't need to specify that it can be used for both. So when climbing, a rope provides a +1 bonus to all checks to a +1 bonus. When climbing, a rope provides a +1 bonus to relevant checks. Skill checks. Shit, a tent costs 10 gold. What is the advantage of having a tent going to be? That's something I'm going to have to think about. I'm just going to nip AFK for a quick bio break. Dudes, I shall be right back. Just give me 2 seconds. Apologies for the delay there, dudes. This is a test document. Okay. I wish I had a better document editing piece of software than what I'm currently using, but we're going to stick with this. We're going to ride it out. Tent was next, right? Tent. So, Sublime Text 3, you say? No, I'm gonna stick with this just because it's Google Docs. What I could do is edit it locally and then re-upload, but I'm lazy, so I'm just gonna stick with this, dude. So the advantage of a tent is that it protects you from the elements, of course. Which leads me to believe that there should be some mechanic concerning weather. For example, a mandatory luck check when sleeping outside of a tent. Which could, if failed, result in storms, rain, blizzards, hail, something of that nature, which interrupts your rest, thus preventing you from regaining hit points. It sounds extremely punishing. But the way it's going to be done in my mind at this stage is every party member has to roll a successful luck saving throw, and the majority of the party must be successful. And if it's perfectly even, like if there's a 6-man party and 3 fail and 3 succeed, that counts as a success. I think that lowers the probability of actually being rained on, essentially, a sufficient degree as to not completely break a party, or as to not too heavily punish a party that is not equipped with tents. I just want to delve back into the player handbook here as soon as I can pry it free from its eternal bonds. There we go. And I'm just going to look at tents and see if there's any kind of information in this system as to exactly what tents do mechanically, but more interesting to me at this point, because I'm fairly satisfied with the mechanics that I have in mind, would be how many players fit inside one tent. Is it a one-man tent? Could it possibly contain a whole party? That would be interesting, actually. I could do something like, for 5 gold or whatever it costs, you can buy a one-man tent, and for some multiplication of that value, or in fact, I mean, a simple solution would be, if you have 6 players, you pay 30 gold and you get a 6-man tent. So the tent could actually be um, variable to a degree. So there isn't even a description in here, as far as I can tell. Oh, that's a good point. That is a good point. I mean, it's the universe works in mysterious ways because I went to that page and it yielded no information relating to tents, but what it did do is remind me that I need to include lifestyle costs and vehicle costs. In this case, the vehicles are simply horses with varying levels of armor plating strapped onto them. So this page is full. It's got some space here. Lifestyle and vehicles. Those must be addressed. So here we go. Tents, right. You see, this is this is going against the grain. To have a weather system is quite detailed, but I'm trying to minimize all of that stuff as much as possible. I do think it would feed into play nicely just to, say, get caught in a storm or awoken by a hailstorm or something. That would be more immersive, more interesting. But at the same time, it's additional roles which need to be made, or at least the GM has to be thinking about the weather system. So is it really beneficial enough to warrant adding an entire rule to the manuscript, to the book, to the system? I'm going to say yes, because without it, the tent would be a useless item, because I can't think of any other purpose that it serves. It's not like it protects you from wild animals. If a bear wants to eat you, the tent is not going to prevent it from doing so. And I can't really make it more vague in the sense of when the majority of the party fails the luck check, they wake up, because they could just go back to sleep. There needs to be something, a persistent problem, a persistent presence that is preventing them from sleeping, which all I can think of right now is weather, essentially. Fair, sunny, windy, windy, cloudy, stormy, frigid, snowy. Is frigid like frosty? Like it's not snowing, but it's like there's frost on the ground and things. Fair, sunny. What is fair? Is fair like even better than sunny, or is fair more like between sunny and cloudy? I could probably Google this. Fair weather define. This is completely useless. Between sunny and cloudy. Okay, so they're not necessarily in order of like severity, but yeah, those sound good, and they could potentially be randomized if we put those on a table. How many do we have? We have seven, I believe. 3, 6, 7. If we could get one more in there, you could roll it on a D8. Fairweather Friends, what? I don't even know what that is. Fair, sunny, windy, cloudy, stormy, frigid, snowy. Fair. So we can define fair, sunny, windy, rainy, hail. Okay, fair, sun, wind, rain, hail, ice, snow, frost, snow. Okay, I love the list. I'm gonna modify it slightly. Where can I even type this? Well, let's just make a weather table. That's a good move. Okay. I like this. I mean, it's simple enough. Seasons and regions, yes, I agree. I do agree. But I mean, those are great, but I'm trying to avoid a rules-heavy approach. And when you start getting into your distance from the equator and the time of year, etc., it's kind of adding a lot. I think seasons are fairly good, but if you implement seasons and actually have specific rules for them, as opposed to the GM just saying like it's winter now or something, those are going to have to affect the weather table somehow. For example, if it was summer, the chance of snow would be extremely low, like non-existent essentially. So whilst it sounds awesome, I don't want to overburden the GM. I mean, I'm not saying that it would overburden GMs. There's definitely dungeon masters out there who could easily handle all of these rules multiplied by 1,000 with no issue at all. But the focus is a minimalistic approach. So I think essentially the weather table is going to be a completely optional thing, which you can roll on should you wish to randomize the weather at a time of your choosing, but there's not going to be any mechanics specifically dictating how the weather is working. A 4-stage season cycle, yes. 5 locations relative to the like sort of bands in a range between the equator and the poles. Tons of dice rolling, rules for absolutely everything possible. I'm trying to completely eliminate that sort of page flipping style of play where there's lots of looking things up and checking things and calculating things and all of that kind of thing. I mean, I want there to be enough rules, of course, that you aren't left wondering at any point, like, how do we roll for this thing? There isn't a rule. I do need it to be fleshed out enough that that doesn't occur, but I also want to minimize everything so there's no like tracking cooldowns or just anything tracking anything ultimately. I mean, of course, there's the basics like tracking HP and mana and what items you possess, how much wealth you have, but I find that actually having to like look at the clock or something, as with SWN, and say like 60 minutes from now I can use this ability again, trying to avoid that kind of thing. And I'm also trying to avoid having like tiered abilities where I can use this once an encounter, I can use this once a day, I can use this all the time, I can use this like weekly or something ridiculous. It just, I mean, I enjoy all of that and it has its place, but this system does not emphasize such things. So, weather. I think I'm going to wind up with the wrong number of weathers to actually roll on a real dice again. Anyway, sun, cloud and rain can be condensed into one. I think that's the best option. Okay, a D6. Sorry, I was mistaken earlier. Snow. Should frost come before hail? Um, okay. So, that's right. The reason we did that is because of tents. And now we need to write about tents. Tents can protect players from the elements, ensuring a long rest is not interrupted. Okay, so we need to include a section for resting. There is no such thing as a short rest in this system. Like, you can do it, of course, but there's no defined thing of a short rest. So I don't need to say long rest. I just have to say rest. In order to regenerate health and mana, players must take rests. Each rest must be completed without interruption, and each rest lasts somewhere between 6 and 8 hours. What is wrong with the word rest? Well, according to this, the word rest doesn't exist, so okay, let's add it to the dictionary. Each rest lasts somewhere between 6 and 8 hours and must be completed without interruption to gain the stated effects. I don't think I even need to specify that. So essentially, what we're looking at here is the necessity of shelter. And the tent gives you your very own personal shelter. So if there's no inns or taverns or abandoned buildings, caves, resting under, I don't know. If there's nothing to provide cover, you're at the mercy of the elements. That's essentially it. I have a feeling you're correct, Azihaya. Azehia, Ventalims, bus shelter. Yes, I think I'm fairly sure the equivalent would be a stable, perhaps. If no shelter is available, the party must make saving throws, luck saving throws even, to determine party must make luck saving throws to determine whether no if their rest is interrupted by a change in weather. At least half of the party must succeed to prevent God damn it. In order to regenerate health and mana, players must take rests. Each rest lasts somewhere between 6 and 8 hours and must be completed without interruption. If no shelter is available, the party must make luck saving throws to determine if their rest is successful. At least half of the party must succeed in order to prevent a shift in a change in the weather that interrupts the rest. At least half of the party must succeed in order to prevent a change in the weather that interrupts the rest. If the dungeon master decides that there is no threat of severe weather, due to location or season, they may omit this check. Is that the right use of the word omit? Leave out or exclude, yes. Good. I can speak English a bit. Okay, I'm pretty pleased with that. Because I was thinking about the season so much and the fact that, let's say you're in a desert, it's probably not going to rain at night, but it is going to become extremely cold, that kind of thing. So, should the dungeon master feel that this weather shift is impossible or unlikely, they can simply omit the check. Water skin. Is that one word? Yes. Used to carry liquids. For refreshment or intoxication. Arcane implement. A staff, wand, or orb used just simply so that that's easier to say. A staff, orb, or or wand used by wizards to channel the arcane. I'm just going to say arcane energy. Could have said the arcane forces or something, but that's simple enough. How are we doing for time right now? Oh, not too bad at all. Nice. Blacksmithing tools. used in the art of smithing, I guess. Treat metal by heating, hammering, and forge it. Yep. Used in the art of smithing to craft and repair armor and weapons. And repair metal items. I have to say, I can't specify armor and equipment, otherwise someone might be like, I think you'll find if you examine page 7 of the rulebook that you cannot use blacksmithing to create nails, or something, and that's not what we want to happen. Fishing net. Used. No, we're saying used too much. An indispensable. I need to check the definition of that word. Indispensable tool used for catching huge hauls of fish at sea. Fishing pole. Good. I'm desperately trying not to say something like you fish with it. Catching freshwater fish with... Oh, freshwater is a single word? Okay. With this device is far easier than doing it by hand. Far easier than using your hands. Hards. Good one. Flint and steel. Creating a spark has never been simpler. Or should I in fact say lighting a campfire has never been simpler. in fact lighting a torch or campfire has never been simpler. Flint and steel healing kit. Now this is, in fact, no. I completely missed out some important details here. It's going to be basically the same thing for everyone. It's going to be +1. I'm making the decision. It's +1. Grants a +1 bonus to all appropriate skill checks. Appropriate, my bad. Contains all of the tools and medicines required to tend an injured sorry dudes, injured character, to tend or revive an injured character. That reminds me, or that causes me to realize that this being named resurrection is technically incorrect. You see, resurrection in this system can only be done through use of magic, more specifically artifact items, which allow you to do so. So this is in fact revival, or reviving the fallen? Should I? No, let's just put reviving. So you revive unconscious party members who were reduced to 0 hit points. You resurrect party members who you did not successfully revive, and thus they actually died. It's a different thing entirely. An injured or how the hell do you write that? Unconscious? Nope. Oh, I was right the first time. I corrected myself from the correct way of writing it. Great. Herbalist stash. A useful pouch used to store herbs. And how do you not say gardening tools in this situation? um, uh, botanical instruments is what I want to say. A useful pouch used to store herbs and botanical instruments, and grants a +1 bonus to all appropriate skill checks. Holy symbol. I'm sorry I didn't upload it, and I don't really intend to. I don't know if the audio is even going to be intact because I don't record locally, generally, and Twitch has a tendency to mute even game soundtracks when I'm trying to play a game with the soundtrack enabled. So I apologize for that, dude. Let's put it this way, if I ever get a personal best, which I'm actually really pleased with, it will be on YouTube. Until then, I'm not going to be uploading, all of my playthroughs, but I will be returning to the game. So just keep your eye out. You might be able to drop in for a playthrough again at some time. I enjoy watching Crip play anything, to be honest with you. Yeah, I do tune in from time to time and watch some Hearthstone, watch some PoE, watch some Diablo 3, whatever's going down. I don't really play much of those games myself. I have played all three at one time or another, but I'm not like super into them or anything. But Crip's stream is just really good. If there's not someone I'd prefer to be watching online, I'll happily drop by Crip's stream and chill there for a while. It's served me well, and I can't really afford to. Like, ultimately, I really do want to support the streamers, which I love, by subscribing, but right now I can't really afford to. But I've watched enough of Crip's YouTube channel and his stream that I thought, well, the least I can do is buy a t-shirt, especially when he was offering such a high discount. I believe it was like 30% discount or something, and I was like, I just had to do it. What am I doing? Musical instruments. Sorry, got distracted. The dongas were raised and I became distracted. Um, it's very hard to describe a musical instrument without saying it's a musical instrument. I can just put something like used to produce glorious sounds that delight even the weariest of adventurers. Instead of sounds, I'll put songs. Used to produce glorious songs that delight even the weariest of adventurers. Great, that's good. Okay. Spellbook. Spellbook. Now this is the time of reckoning, because the spellbook is quite an important tool for the wizards. You see, the way that the spellbook works is that it can contain a limitless number of spells. Perhaps the book itself is magical, and that is what gives it this incredible property. But you can only use a certain number of spells at any given time. So it's kind of like you have a maximum, and you have to pick and choose from the spells that you have learned and create an appropriate selection of spells that give you the range of varying abilities that you need, or that present synergy from one spell to another that will push you through an encounter, let's say. Now, the value which I'm going to start with, I think, is either 6 or 8. Let's look at the spell tables. I forgot to specify this when, in fact, I don't know if I'm even going to limit the cleric. I probably should. It should probably be limited in a similar way. I think the way that I'll explain the cleric's ability to only use a certain number of spells is that your god literally only grants you a limited quantity of power at any given time, or something of that nature. So we have 27 to 50, so that's what, 27? We have somewhat where in the region of 27 or 23 or something spells for the wizard, and slightly less, well, quite a lot less at this stage, but there may be new ones added. Of course, this is very early development. So we're looking around 27 spells. So I'm going to say 8. You can have 8 spells available to you at any one time. I feel like 6 would be a little bit overly restrictive when you have such a vast array of spells to choose from. With 8, you will be able to say, have Illusory Sound, Arcane Light, Fireball, Frostbolt, Teleportation, Invisibility, Disguise, Conjure. I mean, it's enough. I already feel like it's enough. So let's go with 8 for that. Used? No, I keep saying used. Fuck. I could even just say produce. No. Nope. Spellbooks. Wizards can store a limitless number of spells in this mysterious tome. However, they may call... I should specify that in the class section as opposed to under the item. Otherwise it will be unclear. If it's in an obscure location like that, you'll have to look it up. Spellbooks. Wizards may store a limitless number of spells within a spell book. However, they may only use a maximum of 8 of these. Now I'm saying of all of the time. Use a maximum of 8 at any given time. They may choose exactly which 8 they will use. They may choose exactly which 8 after complete completing a rest. I feel like there's a better way to phrase that. Wizards may store a limitless number of spells within a spellbook, however they may only use a maximum of 8 at any given time. They may select exactly which 8 spells they may select the 8 spells they desire after completing a successfully completing a rest. And for clerics, we'll have something like divine favor. What does that mean? Before I include it, I should know. Approval, support, or liking, an act of kindness, show of approval or appreciation, giving someone something. I think that one even said. That's definitely, yeah, give someone something to say. That's great. Divine favor. Clerics can be granted a limitless number of spells by their chosen deity. Deity? I don't know how you write that. By the grace of their chosen just going to say God. However, it's the same thing from here. I used the word may too many times. Okay, nice. I'm not entirely sure how to describe a survival kit. Useful. What does it even contain in a survival kit? Like, a compass? If it had a compass, though, that would help with navigation, and it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't matter at all because technically the survival kit does not contain any items. It's simply an item in itself that grants +1 to all appropriate skill checks, but some flavor text would be nice. Tools that aid a character as they traverse the wilderness. I mean, it's all I can really say. It's extremely vague, but the important part is that it grants a +1 bonus. Thieves' tools. It's literally a